Hey all, it's Robin. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am filming my first holiday book tag. So this is an original book tag that I created last year over on my blog. I will link the original down below, but I created this tag inspired by the Let It Snow Christmas Carol, and each question is a lyric from the song and it is assigned a book prompt. I have graphics and stuff like that on my blog. If you want to do this on a blog or YouTube or whatever, there are graphics and things, and all the questions and all of the information is linked down below. This is a short and sweet 7-question book tag, so let's just get right into it. Question number 1 is: the weather outside is frightful. Name a book with a snowy setting. So for this one, I had to go with 8 Perfect Hours by Leah Lewis. This book takes place right at the beginning in the middle of a snowstorm. It has a super snowy cover. It does look like a holiday book, but this is actually set, I believe it opens up in like March. So it's a snowy setting, but not really a holiday setting. We are following these 2 characters who are in England, and they are kind of trapped on a highway in the middle of this freak snowstorm. And they are stopped next to each other for 8 hours. And in those 8 hours, they form this unlikely friendship. And then they go their separate ways, expecting to never see each other again, except they keep running into each other. And over time, they develop a friendship and possibly more. This book is really sweet and heartwarming. It is an exploration of self acceptance and, like, what do you want out of life? The heroine is feeling very trapped in her life and her circumstances, and she's kind of trying to figure out what is next for her, as well as the hero is going through a lot as well. And the two of them lean on each other to work through some of their baggage, and they develop this really sweet romance. This book is snowy and cozy and absolutely wonderful, and I am obsessed with everything that Leah Lewis writes. Question number 2 is: But the Fire is So Delightful, a book that warmed your heart. So for this one, I am going with a very non-seasonal read, and that is Mating the Huntress by Talia Hibbert. This was the first book that came to mind when for like a heartwarming story. This is a werewolf shifter romance, and this is very much so a Halloween story. This is set around the fall season, around Halloween. I believe there's actually a scene on Halloween, if I'm not mistaken. This is just the softest, sweetest cinnamon roll version of a werewolf shifter I've ever read. And this book just, it killed me. I loved it so much. I devoured this book. I read it in a single sitting. It's nice and short. And I believe this is going to be a series, and I cannot wait for Talia Hibbert to write more in this world because this book was so dang cute. Question number 3 is: since there's no place to go, what is a place you wish you could visit, either real or fictional? And I ended up with 2 answers for this because once I thought of them both, I could not give up either of them. So the first one is The Small Town from the X-Hex by Erin Sterling. I talked about this in my review for this book, but I am completely obsessed with this small town. It was probably my favorite part of this romance. The small town in here is so, so stinking cute. And again, this is a Halloween story, so this small town is all decked out for Halloween, but I would love to see this small town also for Christmas. This is very like Stars Hollow-esque, but with witches. And I want to go here and visit and stay forever. And then the other one that came to mind is the tea shop from Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. This tea shop is so whimsical and magical, and I want to go here and just hang out with these characters. I'm still in love with this book, still obsessed with this book, and I want to visit. Question number 4 is: it doesn't show signs of stopping. What is a series you are still in the middle of? And for this one, I have tons of series that I am in the middle of, and I could actually still answer my question from last year, which is the Devoured series, because I am still halfway through book 2, which I think is where I was when I answered this question last year. But I went with a different series, and this is actually the conclusion to the series, and for some reason, I'm still sleeping on it. And that is the Good Girls Guide to Murder series by Holly Jackson. I have the third book both physically and on audio. This is As Good as Dead, and I just need to finish up this series. It is a bit of a chunky book, but I love this series so much, and I keep putting this one off because I have things like for review and videos and things like that, and this hasn't come up as like a top priority, but I really want to finish out this series because I love it so much, and this is the last book, and I really want to start prioritizing like wrapping up series. So this is one that I definitely need to get to and finally finish. Question number 5 is brought some corn for popping. What is a book you absolutely devoured? And for this one, I had to go with King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair because I read this huge chunky fantasy in 2 days because I could not put this book down. I was so invested, so committed to this adult fantasy romance. I need more in this world. I need it all. This is a very like familiar classic-esque feeling fantasy romance following a girl who doesn't have a ton of agency and ends up getting like engaged or betrothed or married to the supposed villain, and turns out the villain isn't as bad as everyone thinks that he is. So very classic setup, but this book is really fun and steamy. There are witches in this book, which I wasn't expecting and really enjoyed. The writing is just so readable and bingeable and just it's fast paced. And I enjoyed it. I gobbled this book right up. Question number 6 is the lights are turned down low. What is a book that kept you up all night? It has been a long time since I've like stayed up all night reading. I'm on a pretty like strict like sleep schedule, just a life schedule in general. But the last book that kept me up late was The Grimrose Girls by Laura Pohl. This book kept me up well past my bedtime because I just needed to know how this book ended. This story is based on a bunch of different fairy tales, and each of our main heroines is based off of a different fairy tale princess. And this book is told in a really kind of like fun, fast paced way because we are getting multiple POVs from each of our 4 main characters, and each chapter from them is really, really short, and it kind of ends on like a cliffhangery thing that a lot of like thrillers and stuff do. And so you cannot stop reading this book because every time you get to a new perspective, you are so excited to get to the next perspective or like back to another perspective because each one is equally engaging. And like there are, like I said, these little cliffhangers and stuff like that. So by the time that you're like halfway through, you just want to keep going so that you know what's going on and what's happening. And there's a fun mystery element in here. There's fun fantasy elements. And this book definitely kept me up way too late. And then the final question is let it snow, give some winter reading recommendations. I believe at the time that this video is going up, I will have already posted a whole winter reading recommendations video. So I will link that up in the cards. But I had to choose one from that list in order to recommend here. And I had to go with Written in the Stars by Alexandra Bellafleur. I absolutely love this adult sapphic romance. This book is set during the holidays, so it is super wintry and festive, and I believe the ending takes place like right around New Year's. I think it ends at like a big New Year's party, but this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling. You are following these 2 main characters who are total opposites. One is this really free-spirited astrologer, and the other one is this like uptight actuary, and they go on one really terrible blind date, but the person that set them up will not give up on them, so they decide to fake date to get him off their back. And along the way, they end up forming a friendship and a bond, and they fall in love. And it is so, so cute. And it has all of the wintry vibes and the festive vibes. And if you're looking just for a really fun romance for the holiday season that isn't too festive, too overly Christmas, but still perfect for this time of year, I highly recommend this one. All right, so that is it for this tag video. If you would like to do this video, consider yourself tagged. Please let me know if you decide to do this so I can go give your video a watch, and I will catch you all in my next video. Bye. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories.